Nightwing Leaping into the Light is the story of Nightwing's return to Bloodhaven. But before we delve into this issue, we have to go back to see what led Nightwing to this point. During Batman number 55, Dick and Bruce go out on patrol across the streets of Gotham when Nightwing is shot in the head by KG Beast. While Nightwing's injury certainly appears to be nothing short of a fatal headshot, it was less severe than lethal. This shot does impact Nightwing as it causes amnesia and causes Nightwing to abandon the Dick Grayson name, cutting ties with Bruce and the Bat family, and refusing the title of Nightwing as well. Instead, he takes the name Rick and becomes a taxi driver in Bloodhaven. While Rick wanders through this self reinvention, Bloodhaven doesn't stay unprotected. Four police officers take up the mantle, forming their own Nightwing squad to keep the city safe. Barbara Gordon tries repeatedly to bring Dick back, appealing to their romantic and personal history, and Bruce blames himself for the shooting, haunted by his failure to protect his son. However, Rick rejects them both, claiming that he's finally free. During this time, however, the Court of Owls see an opportunity. They have long viewed Dick as one of their own. Since childhood, he was marked to become a Talon. But Bruce Wayne took him in and protected him from that. Now, though, his memories are gone, his connection to the Bat family is severed, and the court is going to exploit this vulnerability. The court's plan is both psychological and symbolic. They implant false memories into Rick's damaged mind, convincing him that his real name is William Cobb Jr., and for a time Rick believes it, but ultimately he breaks free from their influence, rejecting their lies and their attempt to make him a Talon. But these scars still remain, and they erupt in the Joker War. During this Joker War in Gotham, Rick is thrown back into the orbit of the Bat family, and the Joker captures him. The Joker tries to infect Rick by exposing him to a specialized chemical cocktail, and he doesn't want to kill Nightwing, he wants to corrupt him, turning him into the son that mirrors Bruce Wayne's greatest failure. And in the chaos of this Joker War, Rick finally remembers everything about who he is, about Nightwing, about his parents, about the acrobats of Haley's Circus, and by the end of this war, Dick dons the Nightwing suit again and becomes Dick Grayson. This leads into Nightwing leaping into the light, and Dick decides to return to Bloodhaven after all the chaos. One night, on his patrol in Bloodhaven, he comes across a group of thugs kicking and abusing a stray dog. Nightwing dismantles the attackers and takes the dog home, naming her Haley, though sometimes he jokingly calls her Bitewing. When Nightwing returns to his apartment, he finds Barbara Gordon waiting for him. She's the executor of Alfred's will. She reveals that Alfred was secretly a billionaire and that he left his entire fortune to Dick. Meanwhile, on the other side of Bloodhaven, Blockbuster kills the mayor of the city in cold blood and installs a new one, Melinda Zuko. Her father, Tony Zuko, was the man who murdered Dick's parents. And now, in his new city, the daughter of his family's killer sits in the mayor's office, surrounded by corruption and crime. Meanwhile, Dick goes out with Barbara for food, and as they eat, a homeless family approaches them asking for spare change. Dick decides to buy food for everyone nearby, but then one of the kids ends up stealing his wallet. One of the homeless families that Dick had helped runs into the mysterious new villain of the issue, known as Heartless. Wearing a cold, expressionless mask, Heartless confronts the father, telling the son to run, and then takes out the father's heart from his chest. Dick, meanwhile, still searching for his wallet, spots a familiar face. He sees the crime lord Salvatore Maroni meeting secretly with Mayor Melinda Zuko. Before Dick can get any closer, he sees the kids that stole his wallet preparing to rob Maroni's men. The guards draw their guns ready to kill the boys where they stand, but Nightwing intervenes. He follows the kids back to their hideout, discovering a sprawling tent city filled with homeless kids. Seeing this, Dick realizes that these kids do not need punishment, they need protection. And the next morning, Dick finds out about this murderer, Heartless, who is also killing homeless people, and decides to call an old friend, Tim Drake, Robin, and they form a plan to try and stop these atrocities. Tim will infiltrate the tent city undercover to find Elliot and gather information, while Dick tracks Heartless from the outside. As Robin spends time among these children, he finds out that these people are all terrified. They refuse to leave because this is the only place they've ever felt safe. But that safety is shattered when Blockbuster's hired goons, Brutal and Electrocutioner, storm into the camp. Nightwing and Robin, however, leap into action, fighting through fire and chaos to protect the children. This battle escalates, though, when Heartless himself appears, revealing that he set the fire as part of his plan. He wants to steal Nightwing's heart. But as they fight, Heartless reveals the true depth of his cruelty. While the heroes are distracted, he planted a bomb at the pier where all the evacuated children are being taken. And as the pier burns and hundreds of kids are trapped, Oracle sends out a desperate call for help, and within minutes, boats arrive from all over Bloodhaven, arriving just in time to save the children. When Dick Grayson wakes up the next morning, he sees headlines that Melinda Zuko is now officially the mayor of Bloodhaven. Determined to confront her, Nightwing breaks into her home, but before he can act, he's knocked unconscious. When he wakes up, he's tied to a chair, maskless, and staring directly at Melinda Zuko herself. But instead of exposing him, she tells him something that shakes him to his core. She's not the enemy, she's his sister. Melinda explains that her real father was John Grayson. Years ago, when Tony Zuko visited Haley Circus, he brought Melinda's mom, Maylee, there as his partner, but he was cruel, abusive, and violent. When Maylee escaped, she was taken in by John and Mary Grayson, who protected her and helped her heal. For a short time, John and Maylee grew close, and after Maylee became pregnant, she was kidnapped by Tony. 6 months later, she gave birth to Melinda. Melinda reveals that she was secretly working as a double agent for the FBI, trying to take down the Maroney crime family and Blockbuster's empire from the inside. But before long, Blockbuster arrives at Melinda's apartment after hearing about Nightwing. Nightwing, still injured from his earlier battles, fights across the rooftops of Bloodhaven against Blockbuster, but he narrowly escapes with his life and falls unconscious for 2 days. When he wakes up, Dick Grayson decides how to truly honor Alfred's legacy. He decides to establish the Alfred Pennyworth Foundation, a public charity dedicated to rebuilding Bloodhaven's infrastructure, supporting its people, and protecting those who no one else can. The story quietly closes with Dick receiving a call from Bruce Wayne. Bruce tells him that he's proud of the man he's become, proud that Dick is doing what no one else in the family ever truly could, saving a city not just from its villains, but also from its hopelessness. At its core, Leaping into the Light isn't just about Nightwing fighting crime, it's about Dick Grayson rediscovering who he is and what kind of hero he wants to be. For so long, he's been seen as Batman's first prodigy, the first Robin, the acrobat who grew into a vigilante, but here we see something deeper. We see a man realizing that his greatest strength isn't his skill, or his courage, or even his legacy, it's his heart. If you enjoyed this deep dive into Nightwing Leaping into the Light, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe for even more lore breakdowns and character explorations just like this one. Let me know in the comments what you think of Nightwing's growth in the story and what other stories you'd like to hear. Do you believe this version of Dick Grayson is the version the DC Universe needs? And is this the story that helps us realize that? Thanks for watching, and remember, even in the darkest cities, there's always someone willing to leap into the light.